Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guy, and this is episode number 11 of the 3D platformer series. And in today's video we are going to add a small rocket to our game to make it look more interesting. So first of all, before I do that, I think I will make changes to this level a bit. I will just take this platform ground and I will duplicate that, and then I am going to move it to somewhere here. Alright, and maybe just make it there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just duplicate it yet again, and I'm going to move it here while also rotating it 90 degrees on the z-axis. Actually not the z-axis, it's supposed to be actually it's supposed to be the z-axis, so let's just rotate it 90 degrees. And what you can do is you can now make it a wall as well. And so this is going to be a small wall, and I'm going to move it back a little bit, not exactly attached. And I'm going to duplicate this once more, and I'm going to duplicate this by pressing, by the way, duplicating is done by pressing Ctrl D, and I'm going to move it forward, and then I'm going to move the portal over there as well. Now of course you can design the levels according to whatever you want, it's totally up to you. But this is what our game currently looks like. So if I hit play, you can see that we have got 2 coins that we must collect in order to proceed. So if I just collect these 2 coins, then I'm going to go here, then go here, and finally go into the portal, and that works. So yeah, this is pretty awesome, and you can see the level just restarted, and if I just clear the preferences, then it shouldn't cause any problems. But the point is that what we want is that we want I'm going to add a small rocket that so a enemy, another kind of enemy that can shoot rockets at us. It will be fixed here, and it will shoot rockets, and those rockets will just make the player jump at a massive speed to cause the player to just fall off and lose track or whatever. So yeah, this will be really nice. So let's get to implementing that. So alright, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go under here, and I'm going to I'm going to actually create a rocket launcher prefab. So you might want to go under prefab, right click, create a new prefab, or you can just create it directly in the scene. I'm just going to do that for now, but first let me create an empty object called environment. This will help keep our hierarchy simplified and organized. I'm just going to drag all of our environment pieces all of this and this inside of here. That's all nice, and I'm going to actually take this other coin, and I'm going to move this over to that place. Alright, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, now we can get to implementing that rocket launcher thing. So in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to just right click and create a cube, which I'm going to call rocket launcher. What this will do is that I will just go ahead and go under our material folder, and I'm going to drag the black material on this. Maybe not, maybe let's just keep it white actually. I'm going to create a separate material, so I'm going to duplicate this black material into launcher, and I'm going to drag this, and then I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to make it a little lighter. Alright, just like that. I'm going to make it a lot lighter, just not completely white. Alright, then what you can do is you can scale this on the you can actually, but I think better way would be to have a separate object called rocket launcher, and then have this cube be a part of it, and because that will allow us to scale the cube without changing the actual things that are child of this. So I'm going to drag this and put that onto the wall, like somewhere like that, and yeah, that looks awesome. And then what I can do is I'm actually going to increase its size a little bit, not on the y, only on the z, and the actually on the z and the y, not on the x. All right, and now what we can do is we can go under my I've created a rocket model and imported it. Of course you will find a link to this in the description. You can download that as well. So I'm just going to have the rocket texture, which I have put in the same folder as the rocket model. I'm going to put the rocket model here, and I'm going to change its size. By default it's 100 to 60. Then I'm going to rotate it on the z to be on not the z, actually this is unity, you need to rotate it on the y, I guess, to be 90, or not, actually x, it's by default negative 90. Just make it not y, come on, z and y are doing the same thing, seems like. Let's go under rotation and just drag it on the z. All right, that's pretty nice. Just make it completely at 90 degrees, negative 90. All right, and then I'm going to make the x 0, 0 I said, and make the y 90 as well. Alright, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move it somewhere here, and that looks pretty awesome. Then you can see that the rocket launcher is at this position and this cube is at almost 0, even though I think if I just go here and say -3 to this, the cube should be at 0, 0 and 0, and just like this, and increase this position until it gets correct. Alright, that's awesome. So now what I can do is I can select my rocket here. Where is it? And I'm going to drag this in the rocket launcher, and you can see that now I'm just going to move the rocket until it fits correctly with what we have got, and that's pretty awesome. So now I can select the main rocket launcher, and I can move the whole thing back until it is right at the wall, and now we can implement the logic finally. So for that, you can start off by adding a script to the rocket launcher. So alright, all I'm going to do is go under my script folder here, and I'm going to right click and create a new C# script called rocket launcher, and make sure that there's no space. Even though it doesn't add the space in the actual class name, still you should divide that. And once it has compiled everything, what we can do is we can just drag the script onto the rocket launcher, and then I can double click to open it up in VS Code. And once that opens up, what we can do is we can remove the talk to using tags, and we can what we want to do is we want to have a similar mechanism as we did for the previous enemy. So I am going to just go under and open up my enemy script, and I'm going to go under my this here, and I'm also going to drag this range and speed, not speed, maybe actually speed as well. I'm going to drag these and paste this here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under here, and I'm going to copy the on draw gizmos method, and even though it would make more sense to have something like inheritance for enemies, but I'm not going to do that. And of course remove this acceptance radiance one, just the top one. And I'm also going to go down here, where I am actually causing this, and I'm just going to copy this whole thing and paste it in the update method and remove the chase player call. And of course I'm going to add the private rule called awake, awake, and I'm going to remove the update this comment thing here as well. And yeah, you can see we currently haven't got a reference to the player as well, so we will need to copy our start method and all of these. So I'm just going to paste this here. I said you should use inheritance, but I'm just going without it, and yeah, this should work. Now we only need to implement that, and now this awaking system works. So now we need to implement a system for actually shooting the rocket. So the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to actually go under my rocket here, and what I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and add in a rigid body to this, and this rigid body will be kinematic, and so that it does not fall off or anything. And add a rigid body, I'm adding it to the actual rocket body, and I'm also going to add in a box collider here, even though you might want to add a mesh collider, up to you. But if I actually go in here, you can see that it's kind of weird, so I'm going to remove that and just add in a box collider standard instead. And then just it actually fits pretty well, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And now what we want it to do is we want this to actually detect collisions with, so I'm going to just open up my rocket launcher script now, and once it opens up, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in our update method. So if awake, then we want to actually what we want to do is we do not want to have this awake variable. Actually this is a little bit different. What we want to do is we can remove this and remove this as well. uh, Alright, and in here, instead of saying awake, we want to start a coroutine. Start coroutine. And for the coroutine, what we will do is we will have to have a private, come on, let me just remove that notification there, and just add in a private I enumerator, enumerator. Alright, system.collections, and this is going to be called attack. And what this will do is we will just have it like this, and I'm going to have another serialized field here called attack delay. And what we will do is when this is called, we will just execute, we will basically say the return yield return, of course, yield return new, wait for seconds, and we will wait for the amount of attack delay that we have got, and then what we will do is we will actually attack. So for attacking, what we need to do is we need to have a serialized reference, serialized field, a private rigid body called rocket. So what it will do is in here we will say we will need to, so if I just go in here and open up my enemy.cs, you can see that we are calculating the direction towards the player by this formula. I'm just going to copy this whole thing, go under here, and I'm going to paste it here. So by the way, where's the problem? Start coroutine attack. All right, so what we are going to do in here is we are going to say we're going to say rocket dot set rocket dot rotation is equal to, or maybe you want to say rocket dot transform dot rotation is equal to quaternion dot look rotation, and we can just say diff, as simple as that. And after doing that, we are going to say rocket dot velocity is equal to rocket dot transform dot forward, because now it's facing that right direction, we can use transform forward here, and we are going to multiply this by our speed. And we do not need to multiply this by time, the delta time, because it's a rigid body velocity that should automatically handle frame rate independence. So this I think should work. So let's go on Unity and let it compile. And once it has compiled, all I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and once it is compiled, it's taking a little bit of while here, you can see. And wow, it's a long time, 15 seconds for compiling. Okay, so once it has compiled, I'm just going to open up my I'm going to increase my range to something like 8, large enough to detect the player coming here. And for the speed, I will just say something like 1, so that we can just see how the rocket is moving. And for the attack delay, we will just say 5 seconds or 3 seconds. And for the rocket, we will drag this rocket in here, and let's just see how well that goes. I'm not sure if that would actually work, so let's just check it out. So once the game actually starts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, collect this point. Then as soon as I go in here, wait for 3 seconds, and what you should see is that the rocket actually does not come towards me. Wow, that's kind of weird. Okay, it does, but it is not moving. Actually, I think it is moving. So let's just pause the game. Not pause the game, actually. Let's just go out of full screen mode, and let's go ahead and see if it is actually moving. I'm going to select my rocket here, go under the rigid body, and if I go ahead and turn on debug mode here, you can see in the rigid body the I can't actually see the okay, so if I turn off the kinematic, it's kind of not working perfectly, the actual velocity, but you can see that the basic idea is still functioning. Alright, so the problem is that velocity, we cannot set velocity on a kinematic rigid body, so yeah, that won't really work. So we need to get rid of the velocity and instead use transform.translate. So for that, what we will need to do is that we will need to what we will need to do is we will need to have a separate system for the rocket instead of this. So we are going to only do this, and then we are going to actually I'm going to go into Unity now and let it compile. And once it has compiled, I'm going to create a new C# script here called rocket, and this script will actually belong to our rocket. So if I just double click to open it up in VS Code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the top 2 using tags and remove this. Then what we are going to do in here is we are going to say we are going to say transform dot translate, and we are going to say for the translation, what we will say is um, by the way, by default the space should be relative here, and for the translation we will just say transform dot forward, and we will actually change our speed variable here, remove it from here and add it in here instead, and we will just say transform dot forward multiplied by, come on, multiplied by speed multiplied by time dot delta time. And once we have done that, this is going to basically work. Now of course the problem is that this will happen all the time since the rocket has been spawned, which is not something we want. So for this purpose we will have a we will have a property here. So I'm going to just add a property here, which is going to be a public bool called I'm just going to call it active, and yeah, it will have a get and a set publicly. And what we will do is we will in here we will only do this if the active is true. So we are going to check if active. By default, of course, active should be false. Which is the default value. We don't need to set it. And in here, what we are going to do is we are going to say rocket dot get component rocket, and then we are going to say dot active is equal to true. Simple as that. And this should hopefully work. Let's see how well it goes. Even though it won't take collisions or anything else into account, it will just keep going. But we are going to add a method to handle that as well. So let's play the game and see how well it goes. So right now what you should see is that we can go here, and as soon as I enter this, after 3 seconds the rocket should face me, and it's still not moving for some reason. So let's just go out of full screen mode, and let's select the rocket. Oh, and the problem is that there is no rocket script, so we will need to add a rocket script to this, and change that to normal for God. And in here I'm going to just change the speed to something like 3, and let's test it out for the final time to see if it actually works. And yeah, so if I go in here now, and I go up here, after 3 seconds the rocket should automatically face towards me and start moving, and you can see it's not actually moving in the right direction for some reason. Okay, that's a slight problem. It's not moving in the correct direction, and I think the reason is that we might be using local space, global space here, even though we want to. So if I go here and I go space dot, let's try to use space dot self to see how well that goes, and then we will use space dot world as well. Actually, I think we should use space dot world here, but let's check it out. So using space dot self, it actually, I doubt if it actually works. So let's just try it out. It should give us the same result as we did before, because by default the space is local, and yeah, it starts moving towards that direction. But if I change this to space dot world, then it should solve our problem essentially. So now if I let it compile, because we are giving it transform dot forward, which is the front direction. If we were giving it vector 3 dot forward, then local space would have worked. So let's just see how well it goes. It's better to just add to the position sometimes instead of using transform dot translate, but I prefer to do that. And let's see. Okay, you can see it's moving towards me, and it does move towards me, and it causes nothing to happen currently, because currently it's just a kinematic rigid body. But in the next video we will be adding a complete functionality to this. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe, and bye.